Ken Trahan with Lenny Van Gilder of SportsNola.com. The Saints with their preseason finale against the Tennessee Titans Superdome Thursday night, 7 p.m. You know, the last pick in the draft every year is called Mr. Insignificant, Mr. Inconsequential. They always give him a nickname, and that's really what you can call the final preseason game of NFL seasons for every team, Lenny. This is an insignificant, inconsequential game for just about everybody, but not quite everybody.
Just about everybody, but again, not quite everybody. You're not going to see much of starters tomorrow night, if at all. If you see Drew Brees even take the hat off his head, Jonathan Vilma, I would be very surprised. But there are guys who this is going to mean the world to. They may be deciding if they are going to make the 53-man roster, and that those final decisions could get made out of this game.
Well, they could, and of course the most significant moves this week, Alex Brown cut, a starter is gone. That obviously is good news for Junior Galette and Jeff Charleston in terms of making this roster, and I'm sure the Saints like what they saw of Charleston last year, and they like the potential rushing off the edge of Junior Galette. It also means that they want to expedite the process of Cameron Jordan and get him ready to play.
No question, and I think you will see a lot of Cameron Jordan on Thursday night. He will be one of those guys that plays quite a bit. Beyond that, I think you will see a lot of Galette. I think you'll see a lot of Charleston, helping make that final determination. If the Saints have made up their mind, obviously they're not going to tell you if they've decided who they want to be that starter opposite Will Smith, assuming Will Smith is playing at the beginning of the season, which we still don't have answers to that question as well. And I would not totally be surprised if Alex Brown ends up back in a Saints uniform by the weekend. Could still happen.
Yeah, stay tuned. That's not a situation that's decided by any stretch of the imagination. Fullback, two-man competition. A lot of talk about both of these guys making it. That would seem to be a real luxury item to keep two fullbacks, and yet both these guys have played well.
Well, I think one of the things that may have hurt that happening, that would be if everything was perfect. Obviously, Garrett Hartley's situation right now with the signing of John Casey on Tuesday, we don't know at this point what Hartley's situation is. Presumably he's not kicking tomorrow night. Presumably it's something that would carry into the regular season based on the fact you don't sign a kicker just to kick him one preseason game. So if that's the case, and now you're not, Hartley is a situation where he's going to be back in short order. Now you're carrying four specialists. That just ate up another roster spot, and that may preclude you from carrying two fullbacks.
Good get to get John Casey. I don't care if he's 41. The guy missed only 4 field goals a year ago. He's a solid kicker, especially indoors. And, of course, the Saints have Thomas Morstead to kick off, so that impact won't be felt either. Bottom line is, when you look at this game, it doesn't matter who you're playing. They're playing, it just so happens to be the Tennessee Titans, but they could just as well be wearing pink or gray or green. That doesn't matter. They're not scheming for this team. They're not playing against this team. They're playing for jobs, a few guys, as you mentioned, playing not to get hurt otherwise, and really they're already preparing for Green Bay.
You would think so, although everything will be said in the proper way that that's not the case, that they're going to, at least take a look at what's going on out there. But there's not a lot of time, especially with that first game, the first Thursday night, that gives you 3 less days to prepare for the Packers, unlike what the rest of the league is doing. So Friday it will shift into Packers mode, along with having to make a few cuts in the process, and the Saints will be back on the practice field in full force come Sunday for that game next Thursday night in Green Bay.
Keep an eye on Arrington at wide receiver, along with Courtney Roby, and, of course, Joe Morgan, who's been hurt, and, of course, other competitions of interest. Still look at the safety spot to see who makes the final cut, the final roster, and, obviously, who's going to start at outside linebacker. That is still a huge question mark where this team is concerned. Lenny, it's been a pleasure. We look forward to the Saints' final preseason game so we can start talking about things that matter.
Exactly. The regular season is just a week away. It'll be here, in a matter of hours, I guess.
For Lenny Van Gilder, I'm Ken Trahan. Thanks for joining us on SportsNola.com.